Welcome to another video from owninganallotment.com. It's time for a quick plot update. Obviously spring is here and everything is growing, and you can see over here that the garlic is coming up very nicely. It's looking quite strong. There's no signs of rust on it yet. It did get attacked last year, so I'm keeping a close eye on it, keeping it well weeded. The secret, or one of the secrets with onions and garlic, is make sure you keep it weed free. They do not like competition. So I've been very busy here tonight weeding all these beds, because you can see I've got quite a few beds of onions, so I've grown quite a lot of them. And you can see if we come down here, they're starting to swell up quite nicely. If we go over to this bed over here, you can see, I think you can see at the back there, just about, they're really starting to look good. So that's absolutely fantastic. Obviously water them a lot. This time of year when it's dry, they do need a lot of water. If they don't, they send up these flower shoots. Now these flower shoots will appear, usually they appear when it's dry weather, and these will turn into flowers and then they will seed. And obviously you can replant your onions from the seeds if you want to. The only trouble is once they start producing these flowers, they really stop putting energy into the bulb, which is what you want. You want to eat the bulb, you don't want flowers. I mean, maybe you do, maybe you want to let a few go to seed, but pull them off. All you need to do is just very simply pull them off like that. And then there's one more over there. You can see I've got all three of them there. So they then go into my weed bucket and off we go, they're sorted. They'll get composted. You can eat them, a lot of people do. I must admit I don't, but I might have to try some. I've got lots of onions, I'm sure more of them will bolt. And you can see I've got red onions, and down there you can see those shallots. You can see by the way they grow. See, onions grow with a single set of leaves, whereas the shallots grow from sort of multiple points and bulbs. So that's all the onions. Everything else is at home, so I'm going to record all those and show you them later. But we've got gooseberry bush planted last year. That's coming up quite nicely. 3 blackcurrant bushes for some reason. I don't know why I planted 3, but I have. And you can see that if we just look at this, you can see that they've got we've got aphids on them. Just try and get the sunlight off it. You see, I've got aphids, so I'm going to have to treat these somehow. Obviously I don't want to use a spray, so I'm going to have to use either sit here by hand and get rid of them, or I'm going to have to use dilute washing up liquid, which also works very well. And here next to them, and you can see I've actually got a flower coming up on it, and it's growing around here, is a loganberry. I thought that'd be quite nice to grow, so it's going to grow up the fence and across. It's going to be trained across there. So that's very exciting. Now if I just move myself over here, you can see I've been busy. I finally got round to putting down some of the wood chip path. As the wood chips on the other side of the allotments, it's quite a walk to go and get it, but as you can see it's well worth it. It's going to keep the weeds down, and it just makes the whole thing look an awful lot neater. So all the paths will be wood chipped. I'll just show you around the back here where the compost heaps are. You can see I've built a retaining sort of wall, if you like, to hold it in. I'm going to build a few of those and just build it round really. So I don't know what I'm going to do in front of the shed there yet. I haven't decided. That might be a nice seating area because it does get the sun for a lot of the day. So I might well decide that that's where I'm going to set up a sort of some chairs or something, a picnic table or something like that. So that's a consideration at the moment. Anyway, now you remember my apple trees. Let's just go back so I can actually get them in shot. You can see they're quite substantial now. They're pretty tall. I have pruned them back a little. I pruned out the leaders this last winter, and this winter I'm going to prune them some more. So what I'm doing with them is I'm training them, as you can see here, into a living fence. So this is the height. So that's probably about 5 foot high. I didn't want it much higher than that because I thought, oh, I don't want them casting. You can see I'm quite close to my neighbour's plot here. The sun, fortunately, starts over there and tracks around that way. So it's not going to cast shade on the neighbour's plot, but I didn't want it too high because I just thought, oh, that's a bit obnoxious if it's too high. I don't want it to sort of crowd them out almost. I like my plot neighbours, they're very nice, they're very chatty. So what I'm going to do, as you can see, rather than using wires, what I've done is I've drilled holes in these posts and I've put bamboos along there, and I've done one at the top here, and then I've used, where they've gone, these plastic ties to tie it to here. And what I'll do is, as the plants grow, I'm going to loosen them. So what will happen is these will all be trained. So these branches are going to come this way and they're going to be trained along that way. It's going to be trained very formal. I was thinking about it and I thought, well, I don't want it too formal. I like kind of like a country type feel where it's a bit wild, a bit ready, you know. So I'm going to have a third branch going across there, and you can see there's plenty of fruit developing this year on these trees. So I've got 2 different varieties here, and I've got 3 more up there that are actually very, very good. I can't remember the varieties, I'm going to have to look them up, but these are heritage varieties on the dwarf rootstock. So I'm hoping that they'll grow up and I can train them along as well. And then all down this side I will have a sort of living fence, and I did think about how I could do a fence and put something up but make it useful, and I decided this was the best way I could do it, and I think it looks quite nice. I think it's going to be very productive. But what I'm doing at the moment is the branches are being trained into place, and then come winter time when the tree is dormant, it will get its proper prune into shape. So there's quite a lot of work pruning them, but I don't want to do it now because it's the wrong time of year and I don't want to introduce any diseases. But you can see this tree in particular, and I don't know why this one's been so badly affected. This one also has aphids, and you can see all the curled up leaves. So there's loads and loads of aphids on this tree at the moment, unfortunately. I'm going to get some sort of grease bands, put those around there, which should stop the ants, and then I can treat the aphids. I was starting to pick them off by hand, but there are literally hundreds of them, and it's going to take me, look, there's another leaf there, absolutely full of them. So that's going to take forever to do. So I decided I wasn't going to do it like that. I was going to stop the ants and then encourage our little friends in, like this ladybird, and hopefully they'll start munching away at these pesky aphids and get rid of them all for me. You see in the bag there, a little harvest of rhubarb. This is the second bag like that I've had in a couple of days. I've got to the stage now where I'm actually giving it away, and I have some very grateful recipients who are more than happy to receive it and can't believe the size of the rhubarb. I mean, you think about the rhubarb that you buy at a shop, and you know it's what, about thumb's thickness. It's not very thick. I mean, look at the size of some of these. These are just ridiculously sized, but they're really sweet as well. They're really, really nice. So you should be thinning your rhubarb out. Keep picking it, because underneath you'll see lots of other stalks forming, and those stalks will become weak and insipid if you don't sort of keep taking some of the bigger ones off. And you can see over here the size of some of the leaves. They're absolutely massive, so it's really quite exciting. But it's a fantastic crop. I'm thinking that this year I might actually divide the rhubarb out and just replant some of it, and I don't know yet whether I'm going to spread it over this way or what I'm going to do with it, but that's a sort of vague plan at the moment. Now, your rhubarb may send up flower spikes. It does that about this time of year. If it does, cut the spikes off at the base, because they will take energy away from the leaves and the stems. So cut any flower spikes off. They look lovely, but just cut them off, because otherwise they'll ruin your harvest. You can see as we go down here, this bit is all very much under progress. My time's a bit limited at the moment, so I've been sort of doing a lot of work down that end, because I thought that end's almost finished. So I just want to get all the weed membrane in place, all the wood chip down that end, and then that end is going to look fantastic. It's sorted, it's all done, and then I can work my way up. But what I have done, and that's my autumn fruiting raspberry patch that I've got to do something with, because they wind me up, because they get everywhere. But over here you can see my latest work in progress. That's the old grapevine. I had the grapevine in my greenhouse, and to be perfectly honest, it was a pain. I really don't like it. It used to get everywhere and take over the greenhouse and push all the panes apart. So this year I've decided I'm going to sort the greenhouse out. I've got plants that are going to go in it in about a month, so don't have too much time. But what I was reading is that a lot of grape plants work very well with the roots in the greenhouse, and then you grow it outside, particularly sort of in the north where I am. So I thought, well, let's give that a go, because I'm not emotionally attached to this grapevine. It's never ever produced a grape, and frankly it's just irritating. So I'm giving it a chance. It's going to have a couple of years growing like this outside, so I'm training it along these wires, which are obviously very badly put up, as you can see. So I'm going to train it along these wires and see if it actually becomes productive. If it doesn't, it's going to have to come out. From what I understand, I think the grapevine's been in there forever and a day. So I don't know whether grapevines have a finite life or anything like that. So I don't know. You can have a quick peek before I talk about what I'm building here. The asparagus bed, you can see some of it's shot up already. It's so hard to keep on top of the asparagus, and you can see there's a few more coming up there. Again, because it all sort of comes up at once, it's actually very, very difficult to use it. So it doesn't freeze particularly well either. So unfortunately I have had to give some of that away. Let's just cover that bit of grass there. Right, that's all to go to the tip. I've got a big pile of stuff over there that's going to go down to the tip as well. I've done a lot of clearing up. Now this area here, this is going to be my herb garden. So I'm going to have two entrances. I'm going to have an entrance here into my herb garden, and that's what's going to go here, and then the allotment's going to have an entrance about here. So I'm going to have either side of this stone pillar. So I'm going to have an entrance there on this side. I've got loads of chives there, 2 bay trees, marjoram. At home I've got angelica, borage, thyme, basils and things like that. So they're going to get planted in here, and I'm probably going to put some strawberries in there. You can see I've left the weed membrane down. What I've decided is most of what I'm going to plant is actually shallow rooted, so it doesn't need to go down too deep. So rather than dig through, because the site is infested with mare's tail, you'll see it absolutely everywhere, rather than dig through and end up with the beds full of mare's tail, I'm going to fill them with a good quality compost, and then I'm going to plant the herbs out in there, and they should all do very, very nicely. There's going to be a bit of a gap here, so what I'm planning on doing is I've got a couple of slabs over there, so I'm probably going to put down a couple of slabs and pot up some mint. I've got loads of rosemary as well at home, so I'm going to pot up some mints and lemon balms and then put them on the slabs down there. My blackberries are over there. They should produce a fantastic crop this year, and what I want to do with those is I'm going to train them all the way along again, because of the way the sun tracks, they're not going to cast a great deal of shadow until evening time, and then that's not a massive problem. But I want to train I'm going to probably go and buy a couple of varieties of blackberry, plant them at this end and train them down that way. So again, I'm going to have my living fence down there, and then I'll have to have something. I want something over here. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. I might train the blackberries round, or I might plant something else. I haven't actually decided, so we're going to have a think about that and work that one out. You can see these bay trees, absolutely fantastic, loads of new growth on them. These are really good. I bought these, I think it was from the range, and they were in the dead plant aisle, so like 50p I think it was for the 2 plants or each or something like that. It was ridiculously cheap, so I thought, oh, I'll buy them and see what they've done. This was about 3 or 4 years ago. They're growing nicely, and I think I planted them a bit too close, but they're going to grow. I am tempted to move at least one of them over into that corner there to provide a bit of a barrier, and then again I'm going to let them grow up to about 5 foot high, and then I'm going to start pruning them and keeping them in shape. All this down here needs a good weed out, which will probably have to wait until winter now when the blackberries have died back. But what I want to do this year is I think I'm going to put down some membrane, because frankly trying to keep on top of these weeds is really difficult. These beds here, I've decided I'm going to take them down at some point. That strawberry bed is absolutely infested with bindweed and mare's tail. It's just a joke, as is the one beyond it. And this one here is the same. It's got blueberries in at the moment, but I'm going to move the blueberries. And there's I think it's a Japanese wandering onion in there that also will be moved. But the problem is there's just they've obviously been there for a long time. You can see they're rickety and falling apart. So I'm going to take all the bricks out, and I'm probably going to use pallet collars in there. But I think that's going to be a project for later in the year, unfortunately, because I do need to get on with all the other work. And there's a small miracle to show you. Look, you can get into my greenhouse. This is about the first time I think ever I've been able to get into the greenhouse. So you can see that there's a weed membrane down. Underneath that is soil, but there's a concrete or a slab path down the middle. I'm not going to be able to plant in the soil because it is again infested with mare's tail and bindweed. So I've been digging through the soil, getting some of it out as much as I can. And then what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to put the weed membrane back down. I might well change it for a newer one, but I've got to find some way to fix it to the sides to stop the weeds coming up from the side. So not sure what I'm going to do yet with that. I'm thinking of gluing it, to be honest. That's the front runner at the moment. So I'm thinking of gluing the weed membrane to the concrete using something like Gorilla Glue, and then because this has been here for so long, I don't know what state those concrete things are in. So I don't really want to drill them and screw wood on them, anything like that, in case they fracture and shatter. So yeah, so we're going to leave that and sort that out, because and I've got some shelving that's going to go in. So what I'm going to end up doing is move this bit. I'm going to sort this side out, move the bench over, and then sort this side out. And I've got some other benches that's going to go in here as well. So you can see we're getting there with the allotment. We've got lots of stuff at home that's going to come up and be planted soon. I've got more pallet collars that's going to go over there, so I'm going to spend some time organising over there and just laying them out and getting them right. These beds here, some of them will be ready. What I need to do is I need to take the covers off and just give them a quick dig over, and maybe dig in a bit of compost. What I've found is I have been using manure. If I cover them, the manure rots down an awful lot faster, because we only get fresh manure here, so you can't plant directly into it. So what I need to do is I'm putting it in the beds and I'm covering it. It's rotting down into a decent soil, but it's quite a heavy soil, so it does need a bit of compost and maybe sharp sand digging into it to loosen it up a bit, so that it's basically a bit more ready for planting. So that's the plan with these covered beds. I'm going to put stuff in them as well, but as I said, I'm going to build a retaining wall down that line there here, and then there's going to be wood chip on this side, and that side is going to be the plastic. The idea is because my time is so very limited at the moment, I need to set the whole allotment up so it's low maintenance. And the plan will be is come winter time, the beds will be topped up with manure and then covered again with this black plastic, which I reuse every year so it doesn't get thrown away, and then it's going to be covered and then uncovered in the springtime, and then hopefully I'll be working pretty much no dig. That's kind of my plan. I just quite simply haven't got the time or the strength, to be honest, to dig. Oh, and while I remember, one thing you may notice, all of these trees and all of the fruit bushes, I've done the same thing. I've put pipes in at the base of them so that I can water them through the wood chip. It was a brainwave that came to me. I can water them through the wood chip and make sure water gets to the root. We're watering the wood chip, and that's going to encourage weeds to grow in the wood chip. So that's the plan behind that. But as you can see, it's all looking very good, and we're getting there. It's an allotment is always a slow work. It's never ever going to be quick, and you know, most of us, we are time limited, so you have to do what you can do. And this is how I'm setting mine up, and you can see it's starting to look very nice. Once I've got all the wood chip in place, I think it's going to look really nice. It's going to be very easy to maintain, and for me that's the main thing, because I'm hoping that next year I'll be able to concentrate more on the fun stuff, like planting and growing and enjoying the allotment rather than the hard graft. It's been slow work. I've had difficulty sourcing the pallet collars, and obviously it ends up costing quite a bit of money, so I've been trying to do it as cheaply as possible, and we're getting there. So I'll tack on the bit to the end of this where I show you all the plants I've got growing at home, and we talk about those, and I'll get on and tidy up a little bit more before I go home. It's the sun's starting to set now, so I'd better finish soon. So happy gardening, and I'll talk to you in a few minutes. I did promise to give you a sneak peek of what was going on at home. Some things have changed because I've taken some things down to the allotment and planted them, but this is mostly what's here. I've got a frame of an old plastic greenhouse here. Unfortunately I can't find a new cover for it, but it's a great thing to put my plants on to harden them off. So the cover degraded in the light, so it ended up being absolutely no good and full of holes. So I've got rid of the cover, kept the frame, and like I said, I just use it to put my plants on to harden them off. So we've got some marigolds coming up here. They look nice and strong. These are going to go in the herb garden at the allotment, and some will go in the front garden here. And then I've got 2 pots of leeks, and you can see they're coming up to a decent size, so they're getting close to being ready to plant out. I've got far too many leeks there, to be honest, for me. I think I got a bit carried away. So one of those is going to be donated to a growing group locally. There's a group that grows vegetables, helps old age pensioners and young children, preschoolers, grow vegetables together and learn about plants. So they've got loads of space, but unfortunately they're kind of lacking in vegetables, so I've got some of these for them. I've got Brussels and cauliflowers, or cabbages, brassicas, something like that. Anyway, there's loads of those there. They need planting out. There's more here, and then we've got mint, and finally the parsnips here. I did try and plant these out the other day, and I must admit I got a bit I was a bit bemused as to where to put them, so they're going to go back down hopefully this weekend when the weather improves. Unfortunately, it's not stopped raining for God knows how long, so I've not really been able to get out here and do what I wanted to do. So these are the tomato plants, and you can see, as always with tomato plants, they're going crazy. We'll take off a couple of the side shoots, but they're doing all right. You can see there's more side shoots coming up there. So they've come up well. I've got all sorts of varieties. I can't remember what any of them are. That's Roma. Let's have a look what this one is. Oh, that's also Roma. I'm sure I've got some other than Roma, honest. Let's just empty something out of that rose. Oh no, that's another Roma. I'm sure I planted something different. Yeah, mortgage lifter. That one at the back's a mortgage lifter. That grows into a huge plant. I've got some big containers, old flower buckets from somewhere like Morrison's. They're going to get put into those soon and transferred to the greenhouse at the allotment. A couple of aubergine plants as well. Again, that's the same for them. They're going to get repotted and planted on, because again, you can see that. Oh, sorry, they're starting to get quite big, as you can see from that one. So they need some tender loving care. Over in this one, again, we've got all sorts, and again, these desperately need planting out, but as we've had pretty much a week of solid rain, nothing has actually been done. So I've not managed to get out, but there's peppers, there's chili peppers, there's red peppers, there's courgette, cucumber, and gourds. I have planted some other vegetables. This is a marrow. There's some no, that's not aubergine, pumpkin, which serves me right for reusing labels. And then we've got loads of chilies at the plant. Again, all these need repotting. Unfortunately, with the way the weather's been in the last week, I've just not had the chance to come out and do all these. But like I said, I've got lots and lots and lots of things coming up in here, and they all just need putting into bigger pots and eventually moving down to the greenhouse. And right at the bottom there's some herbs and some cuttings that I've tried to take. I think most of them haven't taken, but a couple have from the looks of it. That looks like it's okay. And there's one at the back there. So they're going to also go in the herb garden if they've taken. And these are some pumpkins. There's some I found in one of the garden centres. I thought I'd give them a try. How good they are, I don't know. But that's what's going on at home at the moment. Like I said, there's a lot to be transported down to the allotment. Like I said, unfortunately, it's just been waiting for it to stop raining. But I tend to start most of my seedlings off in these mini greenhouses at home. It's a lot easier to keep track of because of where my allotment is. It can be quite difficult to get to during rush hour. So sort of going there before sort of 6:30, 7 o'clock at night is difficult because of the sheer volume of traffic. So I tend to keep plants at home till they're young, and then I move them down to the greenhouse when they grow a bit bigger. But you can see what's happening, and there's a couple of trays of flowers down there. They haven't done very well, and I've no idea what those are because I forgot to put a label in them, and the other set barely germinated, so a bit of a shame. But as I said, it's all looking very good, and I'm hoping to get all of this out very, very soon. And some of the excess plants, because I think I've got a few too many chili peppers. Again, these will be donated to the growing group because they have a fairly large greenhouse and sadly nothing to put in it. So I'm going to help them out with some of my excess plants as well, because they're apparently very, very excited and looking forward to getting some help. So this is what's happening at home, and you've seen what's happening at the allotment. There's lots more to share with you in the meantime, and let me know how you're getting on. Let me know what you're doing, and certainly please let me know what you're growing and any gardening questions you may have. I'll speak to you soon.